Let me ask you, because it's obviously probably the most important question above all business and, personal, CrossFit Games kind of stuff. Like you mentioned before the show that your daughter's in a good position now and stuff. Like that must have been extremely scary when you say, it changed your mindset on where you were going with everything. Like, talk us a little bit through that if you
Yeah, I mean,
can.
right now is a really great time. I mean, the month of March is a big month for us. So March 5th, which is coming up soon, is her last IV chemo, which is like a major deal.
Yeah, for sure.
And she's already gotten her port taken out, which is a major deal.
Mm-hmm.
And then her last actual chemo treatment by pill at home is on March 29th. And then we're gone for a week in Cabo.
March Madness.
So yeah, March Madness. It's been 2 years and like 3 months, so it's been a long time coming. And we didn't think when she first got diagnosed, I never thought I'd see this day.
Yeah.
It just seems so far away.
Yeah.
Because at the time she was 4 years old.
Fuck, man.
So now I'm like, when they tell you, oh, it's gonna be 2.5 years, you're like, dude, she's only 4 years old. Like, you're telling me it's gonna be,
It's insane.
And so now here we are. It's kind of, I'd like to say it's actually, anybody who has children kind of knows what I'm saying when I say, like, the days are long, but the years are short.
Yeah.
That's kind of the way it has been.
Mm-hmm.
Like, looking back on it, it's gone by quicker than I thought.
Yeah. And you look at it in the macro scale kind of thing.
Yeah. I mean, we've had a couple big scares, but for the most part, we've been super, super blessed. And I feel like in a unique way, we've been kind of granted we've been granted this perspective. We've been granted this blessing of her being okay to go out and share the message, share positivity, and do a lot of good for a lot of families. So
That's
my wife
awesome,
and I
man.
are highly philanthropic in that sense, because we really feel like someone's been looking out for us, for sure. We've had our back up against the wall a number of times, and we always feel like we've kind of gone out the other side, and there's some families that aren't as fortunate. So for us, that's a huge focus.
Absolutely. Can I ask a relatively difficult question, but like, with your daughter being 4 years old and with everything that she was going through, when it all came about, like, how do you communicate what's going on to a 4-year-old in this scenario? Like, how hard is that?
Yeah, I mean, so she's 4 going, she was like 4.5, and the thing about it is as a parent, you have the responsibility and the ability to explain things however you want.
Yeah.
So like, imagine if I was like, hey, this, instead of this being green, this is purple. But you wouldn't know any different because I'm sharing that with you, right?
Yeah.
And you didn't know any different.
Yeah.
So when we first told her about what leukemia was, we had the opportunity to explain what it was.
Yeah.
She didn't have any of that background like you do of people passing away.
Scary.
So when we explained it, the night that she was diagnosed, basically I read a lot of books. Basically I stayed up all night just reading, right? And there was one book in particular, it was like, it basically talked about basically your white and your red blood cells and how they're ninjas. So we kind of use this book as a way to kind of read it to her. And we use that same thing for the way that she lost her hair and stuff. We kind of utilize books because we're not experts. So we utilize these books as a way to kind of, ease it.
Yeah.
But for the most part, what it was a big takeaway my wife gave me was like the night that she was diagnosed, the next day, we're all kind of like figured it out. And so family would come by, and like Ashley's rule was, look, if they want to cry, they could cry as much as they want. Just don't cry in front of Ava.
Yeah.
And so this way, Ava never really understood the gravity, at least in the beginning, because everybody was, I don't want to use the term positive, but they were walking in knowing what they're getting into.
Yeah, for sure.
There's very clear rules.
Yeah.
When you walk past this door, there's no tears.
Yeah.
If you're going to cry, do it outside. So that was, I think, something good that we did.
Yeah, for
that's
sure.
great. And like, children are such information sponges at that age, So I was actually just having a thought when you were saying that of like how that's going to influence her as a kid when she grows older, the way she'll see sort of adversity in her life,
Yeah, for sure. I mean, when you go through something like that at such a young age, it's whether we realize it today or not, I think long term it will pay we're going to have a lot of challenges from different medicines that she's taken because I think there might be some concerns in the future. But hey, when they come, we will attack them the same way we did today. But I think, she'll be a lot stronger for it. And I think that it'll make a great college essay.
Yeah, that's right. If nothing else, you get a good essay out of it.
Yeah. So how does that change your perception? Because you said before it's kind of changed the way you sort of shaped the business side of things as well. Like, is that more influential to the wellness side, or what does that sort of do?
I think, when it comes to I mean, it's mainly the philanthropic side, right? Is that before she got sick, we would donate to the Navy SEAL Foundation, we would donate to this, to that, and everything's great. But when you're really hit with something and we actually see it firsthand, I think it just changes what we want to get behind. So as a company, we know we want to get behind, right? We want to get behind this pediatric cancer, supporting families, and then just as a human being, obviously, has changed my perspective, right? Because again, if nothing else, every time I go to the hospital, I'm just humbled. You have people complaining about, not getting the right type of ketchup on their hamburger.
Yeah.
But there's much bigger problems in this world. And I think that it took this experience for me to kind of realize that, it's not that big of a deal what you're probably going through today.
Yeah.
Right? Like in the grand scheme of things, you're okay.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
100%.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I wonder, with everything that Ava went through, I've just lost my train of thought.
Have you?
Yeah, I lost my train of thought.
Yeah.
You put me under the pump here.
Well,
But,
she is in remission now, though. Hey, she's
Yeah,
good
so
to
she
go.
actually, so a lot of people don't, I didn't know what remission was. I didn't know anything about this until she got it. But basically what happens is you get these day 29 results. So 29 days after she got diagnosed, they go in, they take a sample out of her hip. And then based on that sample, it's either as good as it gets or it could be as bad as it gets, right?
Yeah.
So that's a big day. There's certain days that are big days. That was one of them, right?
Yeah.
And we were fortunate that at that moment, technically, given the test, X amount of 1 in a million, you couldn't see the strand. So she went into remission on day 29. Thing is, they still need to treat for over 2 years because they know that if they don't, it will more than likely come back.
Yep.
And in boys,
Yep.
it's 3.5 years because it actually comes back in their testicle.
Oh,
Right.
yeah, right, yeah. So,
right.
Yeah.
So what I was meaning to ask before I lost what I was talking about.
I just gave him a brief safety net there for a second. Yeah. I'll film this one.
No, so my question to you though, Jace, is like, with you and your wife, like, how did you actually go about getting through it? Because it's obviously such an emotional thing. Like, did you put specific things into place to keep your mindset where it needs to be, or like, did you start meditating? Did you journal things? Like, how did you, as a person, as a father, how did you get through it?
Yeah, I mean, I think understanding what was in our control was out our control. Educating ourselves, but making sure we were finding the right information. I think trying to be supportive and knowing, like, I'm not a doctor and I'm not going to administer chemotherapy, but I can be supportive, I could be loving, and I could do everything I can. So, we stayed in the hospital for probably a total of like maybe 3 months over the last 2 years. And when we're in the hospital, we just try and stay recharge, refresh. I try and take, active workout breaks in the hospital parking lot, come back so I could bring some positive energy. But for the most part, it's been a family affair. Like, it's been a family event. Like, my mother-in-law was over every day. My father was there every day. My parents took care of my son. Like, I mean, it's just been a whole family dynamic.
Yeah, for sure.
Especially like we had one long stint in the hospital that was a little over a month, right? That's a long time to be in the hospital.
100%,
And so, I didn't leave for a month because my whole rule was, you never know when the doctors are going to come in. And those guys at the time were kind of like gods to me. I mean, they still are. They're like this godly figure to me, right? Because they've saved my daughter's life. So when they come in for rounds, I want to be there because I don't ever want to be behind a decision that I wasn't there to, like. I don't want to know they were making a decision and I couldn't at least know why they were making it.
You got to be fully informed of everything that is to be informed.
Every single thing, right?
Absolutely.
Nothing's more important.
Yeah.
So my whole policy was I had to be within 5 minutes of the room, right? So if I went for a run, I better run a fast mile back.
Yeah, you're running 100 meter sprints back and forth.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Call Usain.
And so I guess the thing is that, just trying to educate ourselves and trying to have like date nights, right? So like my wife and I, especially when we were in there for a month, my mother-in-law would come over, she'd watch Ava, and then we can go out across the street. They got to know us at this place called Fleming's, which is right across the street from Stanford University or Hospital. And we just go there, and some nights we just get some appetizers. Some nights we'd have 4, 5, 6 margaritas.
Whatever you needed at the time.
Yeah. As you
Sometimes
said,
we'd have 10 appetizers and 12 margaritas.
As you said, you're trying to bring positive energy.
It just depended on what we needed that night.
Yeah. Shit, man. So what were you doing? Just bringing like equipment to the gym or something, or just doing little burpee wads?
So I would do a lot of they had an auditorium where they held like events, and like I got to know the guys. So like him and I would just be like kind of bros. I'd go in there whenever I wanted, when there wasn't people using it, and just do body weight style workouts, right? And then I brought our company truck with barbells and weights if I wanted to get something more. And I just parked it in the garage.
Yeah, classic.
I actually think that's a really
true CrossFitter style.
But it's like not even. I was just going to say it's actually a really good takeaway for something so big to impact your life like that, there is still like an element of not self-centeredness or anything, but to keep yourself balanced as well at the same time, you know? So, yeah, I think that's really great.
Positive, like you said. You know, you need those endorphins when you go through.
That's right. And it's strongly encouraged by the doctors. They just need to find a better way of administering it. You know, we started offering yoga there. It didn't pick up the same type of traction I'm looking for. We're going to bring it back. But we started offering yoga for a free service to all the inpatient people because fitness is a little bit tough. But yoga just is a way to get people out of their room and
get them moving.
The people who utilized it, they loved it. But for me, it's like I left, you know, you're in this hospital room. Obviously, stress is high. You're in this small room with me and my wife and my daughter for a month. Leaving for 5-10 minutes or leaving, 5 minutes away for 45 minutes to get into workout and come back is a healthy thing to do. Yeah. And you need to do it because, and my wife needed to do it too.
Discovery Roger, go for deploy.